In today's world, marijuana is often seen through the lens of modern debates about legality and recreational use. It's a topic that sparks discussions about its impact on health, productivity, and society. However, what if we told you that, thousands of years ago, cannabis was revered in African spirituality as a sacred herb, a powerful tool to bridge the physical and spiritual realms? Long before cannabis became associated with modern countercultures, it held deep spiritual significance across many African communities. Ancient rituals, designed to connect humans with their deities and ancestors, often involved the use of this plant. To the people of ancient Africa, marijuana was not just a recreational substance, it was a divine aid, an offering to the gods, and a pathway to heightened spiritual awareness. Let's take a moment to reframe our understanding of marijuana. Imagine a time when it wasn't stigmatized, but instead honored for its spiritual potency. From the pyramids of Egypt to the sacred lands of southern Africa, cannabis was used in healing practices, divination, and ancestor worship. It was more than just a herb, it was a connection to the divine, unlocking visions, wisdom, and clarity that ordinary human perception could not grasp. But how did it all start? What made marijuana such a pivotal part of African rituals? And why did it fade into the shadows of colonial suppression, only to be rediscovered by modern spiritual movements? To understand this, we must first dive into the history of cannabis in African spirituality, and how it was utilized by shamans, priests, and spiritual leaders in ways that transformed the landscape of worship. As we journey deeper into this topic, we'll reveal how this sacred herb was intertwined with the lives of those who believed it could connect them to their gods, ancestors, and the very forces of nature. And, in doing so, we'll discover that the true story of marijuana in Africa is far more profound and mystical than any modern narrative could ever tell. Stay with us, as we uncover the hidden truths of cannabis in African deity worship and spirituality. Prepare to challenge everything you thought you knew about this plant, and its place in the ancient world. To understand the sacred role of cannabis in African spirituality, we must trace its ancient roots across the continent. While cannabis is often linked to modern-day debates, its connection to Africa's spiritual practices stretches back thousands of years. The earliest historical traces of cannabis in Africa can be found in ancient Egypt, where evidence of its use dates back to at least 2000 BCE. Archaeologists have uncovered traces of cannabis pollen in Egyptian mummies, particularly in the tombs of royalty. This suggests that cannabis wasn't just a medicinal herb but also a key part of sacred rituals. The Ebers Papyrus, an ancient Egyptian medical text, mentions cannabis as both a treatment for ailments and a vital ingredient in spiritual practices. For the Egyptians, cannabis was more than just a remedy, it was believed to possess divine qualities that connected people to higher realms. In Ethiopia, cannabis was used by Ethiopian mystics and early Christian ascetics to aid in meditation and prayer. The plant played a role in helping individuals reach states of heightened consciousness, where they could receive divine guidance. This tradition of using cannabis to enhance spiritual experiences may have influenced early Christian practices, where ascetics retreated into solitude to pray and seek God's will, often using sacred herbs to unlock divine wisdom. In southern Africa, the Khoisan and Bantu-speaking peoples used cannabis in spiritual rituals, believing it could enhance communication with ancestors and spiritual forces. For example, among the Zulu, the herb was important in healing ceremonies performed by sangomas, spiritual healers who used cannabis to enter trance states, allowing them to see visions and receive guidance. Cannabis was a tool for maintaining spiritual balance, helping practitioners access deeper spiritual realms to heal and connect with the divine. Along the Swahili coast in East Africa, Sufi mystics integrated cannabis into their spiritual practices. In Sufi traditions, cannabis was used as a tool for purification, helping practitioners shed the distractions of the material world and achieve a state of heightened spiritual awareness. It was believed that cannabis allowed individuals to experience direct communion with the divine, unlocking clarity and wisdom. Across the continent, cannabis was not just a physical herb but a spiritual tool. It was used in rituals, healing, and deity worship, helping to facilitate a connection with the divine and the ancestors. The herb was considered a means of accessing hidden realms of knowledge and achieving spiritual clarity. From ancient Egypt to southern Africa and beyond, cannabis has long held a sacred place in African spiritual practices. It was more than just a plant, it was a tool that opened doors to higher consciousness and divine connection. The story of cannabis in African spirituality is far from over, and it continues to influence spiritual practices to this day. Cannabis was not just a tool for healing or meditation, it also played a significant role in African deity worship and spiritual rituals. Across the continent, cannabis was used to connect with the divine, allowing worshippers to transcend the physical world and commune with gods and ancestors. The plant became an offering, a bridge between mortals and the spiritual realm, facilitating divine revelations and strengthening rituals. Among the Zulu people, cannabis was crucial in the practices of sangomas, spiritual healers. These healers used cannabis to induce trance-like states, which allowed them to receive visions from ancestors or gods. In healing ceremonies, cannabis wasn't just for altered consciousness, it was a sacred substance that enhanced spiritual insight and communication with the unseen world. It played a central role in healing, helping guide individuals in matters of health, family, and community well-being. In Igbo spirituality, cannabis was used in rituals to honor fertility gods and warrior deities. Smoke from cannabis was believed to purify the air and create a sacred atmosphere for spiritual communication. These rituals often involved prayers, offerings, and chants to invoke the deities, with cannabis enhancing the power and energy of the ceremony. It helped to invite the divine spirits, elevating the connection between the worshippers and the gods. In Central Africa, cannabis was used by priestesses and ritual specialists in Congo cosmology. These practitioners smoked cannabis in sacred rituals to commune with ancestral spirits for guidance and protection. It was believed that cannabis opened spiritual channels, allowing contact with spirits and nature gods. It ensured harmony between the human, spirit, and natural worlds, making it a key element in maintaining balance in spiritual and physical life. West African traditions, particularly in Mali and Senegal, also incorporated cannabis into deity worship. In these regions, cannabis was burned in sacred fires or used in divination rituals. The herb was considered purifying, elevating the spiritual awareness of worshippers and making it easier to receive divine messages. Cannabis was seen as a tool to unlock hidden truths, ensuring favorable outcomes in battles, governance, and agriculture, and honoring the gods. Across diverse African cultures, cannabis was a divine tool that connected people to the spiritual world. Whether used in healing, invoking ancestors, or honoring deities, cannabis was central to the rituals that shaped African religious life. It facilitated communication with the divine, ensuring that the rituals were not only conducted but deeply felt. Cannabis was more than just a ritual substance, it was a spiritual key that unlocked hidden knowledge and divine insight. For ancient African practitioners, cannabis had the profound ability to elevate consciousness, allowing them to access realms of wisdom beyond ordinary perception. It helped worshippers connect directly with the divine, receiving prophetic visions, guidance, and healing. Cannabis played a critical role in opening the mind's eye, the spiritual center that could access divine knowledge. It helped clear away the distractions of the physical world, enabling individuals to communicate directly with gods and ancestors. During ritual use, the visions that emerged were not merely hallucinations, but messages believed to come from the spiritual realm. These divine insights would guide decisions in matters of health, family, and community, offering guidance that could change the course of lives. For Zulu Sangomas, cannabis was essential in their healing rituals. Before entering trance states, these spiritual healers smoked cannabis to receive visions from ancestors or deities. The trance wasn't just about altered states of mind, it was about accessing a world beyond the physical, where divine knowledge could be received. Cannabis heightened their spiritual connection, allowing them to heal the sick, offer guidance, and resolve conflicts, all while communicating with the spiritual world. In West Africa, cannabis was also central to divination practices. During ceremonies, the smoke created a sacred atmosphere, heightening the awareness of those involved. It was believed that cannabis smoke carried prayers and messages to the divine, making it easier for diviners to receive prophetic revelations. Whether it was guidance on warfare, governance, or agriculture, cannabis opened a spiritual channel where hidden truths could be revealed. For Sufi mystics in Eastern Africa, cannabis was used to purify the mind and achieve spiritual clarity. Consumed before prayer or meditation, it helped clear mental fog, enabling practitioners to focus entirely on their connection with God. Cannabis sharpened the mind's focus, allowing Sufis to receive clearer spiritual messages and divine wisdom. It was a tool that enhanced their ability to commune with the divine and gain insights into the mysteries of life. The power of cannabis in African spiritual traditions wasn't about escaping reality, but about expanding perception. It allowed practitioners to access hidden spiritual truths, unlocking divine wisdom that shaped their lives and decisions. Whether for healing, divination, or connecting with the divine, cannabis served as a channel to unlock the secrets of the universe, bringing worshippers closer to the gods. Despite its long history in African spirituality, cannabis faced severe suppression during the colonial period. European colonizers viewed cannabis as a threat to their control, especially because it played a key role in indigenous spiritual practices. Cannabis was criminalized, linked to witchcraft, and demonized as a dangerous substance. Colonial authorities aimed to weaken African resistance by attacking the spiritual foundations of the people, making cannabis use a symbol of resistance that was forced into the shadows. Missionaries, seeking to replace indigenous religions with Christianity, condemned cannabis as a pagan substance associated with evil and backwardness. They framed it as a symbol of African primitivism, reinforcing colonial efforts to erase African cultural and religious traditions. This demonization led to the near extinction of cannabis as a respected spiritual tool within mainstream African society. However, despite this oppression, cannabis never fully disappeared. It was preserved by traditional healers, secret societies, and those who clung to their ancestral customs. Over time, there was a revival of interest in cannabis, especially within the Rastafarian movement that emerged in the early 20th century. Rooted in Jamaican culture and influenced by African heritage, Rastafarians embraced cannabis as a sacrament, seeing it as a path to spiritual enlightenment and a symbol of resistance to colonialism. The Rastafarian movement played a pivotal role in bringing cannabis back into the global conversation about spirituality and African identity. In modern-day Africa, cannabis is experiencing a resurgence. Many African countries are revisiting their ancestral practices and reclaiming the use of cannabis in traditional ceremonies. Countries like South Africa, where cannabis is now legalized for medical use, and Morocco, with its long history of cannabis cultivation, are at the forefront of this revival. In these regions, cannabis is being recognized not only as a valuable economic resource but also as a cultural and spiritual asset. As discussions about cannabis legalization continue around the world, Africa is reconnecting with the plant's deep spiritual roots. There's a growing awareness of cannabis' historical significance, especially its role in indigenous healing and resistance movements. Many African leaders are now advocating for its legalization and cultural revival, acknowledging its importance in reconnecting with ancestral traditions and healing practices. The once demonized plant is now being celebrated as a vital part of African spiritual identity. Cannabis is no longer just a substance, it's a key to unlocking the spiritual knowledge of the past and connecting with the divine. As the world re-examines cannabis, Africa is rediscovering its power to unite the physical and spiritual realms, bridging the gap between ancient wisdom and contemporary spiritual practice. Cannabis, once suppressed and demonized, has resurfaced in modern African spirituality, reclaiming its sacred role in connecting the physical and spiritual realms. From ancient healing rituals to contemporary movements, the herb remains a powerful symbol of cultural identity, divine connection, and resistance. As Africa revisits its spiritual heritage, cannabis stands at the intersection of tradition and modern revival, helping bridge the past with the present. If you found this exploration of cannabis in African spirituality fascinating, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Join us as we continue uncovering the rich history and spiritual wisdom of Africa.